Don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anyone.
But you've possibly found the best kept secret in business. He's handsome. He's loud. He's got some tattoos. He'll tell you as it is and only wears a suit at a wedding or a funeral. No jargon, no overcomplicated 300-stage program. Just upfront, honest, proven ideas, thoughts, and strategies
That actually
work. So here's your host, the best kept business secret probably anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is Mark Ford.
Hello again, and welcome to your Best Kept Business Secret podcast with me, your host, possibly your Best Kept Business Secret, Mark Ford, business coach, author, and commentator on all things small business. Hope you're well. Hope you are enjoying the great British summer, which this week has decided that actually we did need a bit of rain after all, and so hasn't really let us down. So thank you very much, British weather. We appreciate it. Okay, so you may often wonder what keys, what aspects of any particular business make them successful. Well, on today's podcast, I'm going to be talking to you about habits of effectiveness. And actually, these 5 habits are pretty much the key to the most successful businesses on this planet and can very easily be translated from a large business to a small business, from a small business to a medium business, and back up to a large business. They're so interchangeable, it's unbelievable. So, to find out what I'm talking about, just listen to this quick message from our sponsor, and I'll kick straight off.
This podcast is sponsored by JB Commercial Finance, the trusted funding solutions for business. JB Commercial Finance are experienced, whole-of-market commercial finance brokers and will help you and your business raise money no matter your circumstances. Whether you're investing in your business, have cash flow challenges, or you're looking to acquire commercial premises, get in touch with us now for independent, expert, and honest advice. For a free, no-obligation assessment, find us at www.jbcommercialfinance.co.uk or call 0116-3440-322. JB Commercial Finance is fully authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority and are proud members of the National Association of Commercial Finance Brokers.
Okay, so there are lots of authors that have put together lots of guidelines on how to be more effective. And drawing on parts of them all, there's an outline of key areas of being more effective. Now, this can be applied to us as individuals, to business managers, and even actually the business itself. And while some people kind of find this sort of stuff a little bit touchy-feely, there are many more people that find it quite inspiring. So, on this podcast, I guess you can choose for yourself. Now, much of this podcast is kind of derived and adapted from several key sources like Andy Gilbert, Stephen Covey, Napoleon Hill, Rick Dobbins, Peter Thompson, and even Brian Tracy. Now, these habits are nothing stunningly original, although they profoundly affect many, many people. Now, when you consider that the following habits of effectiveness, you can actually apply them to yourself as individuals, to yourself as a manager, or the business in which you work. Now, what are these habits? Well, what are referred to as habits might also be called kind of principles or laws. They've been brought together as a series of interconnecting principles that would increase your effectiveness. What makes them special is they apply the basic principles of auditing and acting to the way that you manage your life and your business. Now, there are 2 basic assumptions of the effectiveness doctrine. Let's call it an effectiveness doctrine. Number 1 is that you live in the land of plenty. If you believe that you live in the land of scarcity, then you'll always be happy to beat your friends and your colleagues. Now, this concept of scarcity makes you very self-centered, and such behaviour ultimately does you no good because you are perceived as grasping and greedy, and others may no longer wish to work with you for the fear of being abused. Now, assumption 2 is the concept of the paradigm, the way that you see things. You see, perception is reality until proven otherwise. Our perception, how we see things, determines what we think is going on in our reality. For instance, is the glass half full or is it half empty? Is listening to this podcast a problem or a challenge? How you see things is determined by the colour of your spectacles, rose tinted or otherwise, rather than how the reality actually is. Now, armed with these two assumptions, you can now proceed to listen to the habits of effectiveness, largely based on the work of Dr. Stephen Covey. So, habit 1, take responsibility and be proactive. Habit 1 uses that terrible P word, proactive. Highly overused, the concept, however, is very, very valid. It is the easiest thing to refuse to take responsibility for what happens to us, as if you were but a small cork floating in the sea of life. However, this approach puts you out of control and makes circumstances control your life rather than the other way round. Hope is not a method. Victim language is a great example of people being controlled. I've got to, I must, they said I have to. Taking control of your life is often about having the strength to say no. For instance, as long as you feel you have to work with an old client who pays last year's fees, you feel that you're cheating on yourself. But if you decide to tell them that you will start charging this year's fees, you have made a decision to look after yourself and, in effect, taken control of that situation. You have decided that the principle is important enough and that you are prepared to suffer any of the consequences should they choose to stop working with you. Now, research with elderly people discovered two interesting things. The first is that they regretted little of what they'd done. The second is that they had lots of regrets about what they did not do. So take control of your life. Take control of your business. Habit number 2, decide what is important, starting with the end in mind. Now, if you don't know where you're going, then any road will do. My good friend Margot will often stand up and do 60 seconds and tell everybody about the sat-nav of the business. How you wouldn't set off unless you knew where you were going. In a very odd way, she's correct. You see, you can't simply expect to live in a house worth 350 grand. Unless you're incredibly lucky, this will just not happen. But if you know what you want, then you can put your mind to working towards it and recognise the steps that need to be taken. Decide your goals and be prepared to pay the price in advance. Think strategically. If you know what the end point might be, then you know what's important to you. Surely you should always do the things that are important. To work in any other way would be an absolute bloody waste of time. See, goals give a sense and a shape to all things around you. You're able to consider whether you wish to do something in terms of whether it's helping you towards your goals or away from them. Habit 3, prioritise. Do first things first. If you've decided what your end point is, then there is suddenly a clarity about what it is and what's not important. Doing the most important things, managing priorities, is management. It is when you are dealing with what is most important that you are using your time most effectively. Combining clarity about goals and the notion of taking control allows you to choose and ensure that you're being the most effective. If habit 2 is about leadership, then this habit 3, is about management. Time management is about understanding what is urgent and what is important, and what is the difference. All too often, people don't spend enough time in the design phase and spend too much time in the build or do phase of a project. The more time spent in preparation, often the less time you need to spend doing the task. Management is about spending more time thinking and possibly less time doing. Habit number 4, think win-win or no deal. Win-win is the only sustainable option when dealing with other people. In the long run, customers will not indulge me if my approach is to get to a situation where I win and they lose, win-lose. Likewise, I'm not so stupid as to go for an option that says I lose and they win, lose-win. And only in exceptional circumstances would one continue to maintain a relationship where both parties lose, a lose-lose. At a recent event, a rather aggressive client, who just so happened to be a management consultant, claimed that this win-win rubbish was a load of old nonsense and no one really believed in it. Now, to be quite frank, no one in their right frame of mind would persist in a relationship where there were not benefits to both parties concerned. Just look at marriages. In the long run, it does not make sense to tolerate any other kind of relationship if that is not a win-win. There's actually one other position you could find yourself in, and that could be described as win-win or no deal. In other words, we say that we would like to be in a position where both parties benefit, but if we can't reach that position, then we should part company on good terms. Otherwise, we'd be trying to impose defeat on the other party. And we do not want to be in the relationship where the other party, or we, feel exploited. So the answer is to walk away on very good terms. Habit number 5, communicate. Seek first to understand and then be understood. Often, we seem very preoccupied with our own needs and don't really pay any attention to those people who we are meant to be listening to. The standard example of this is the husband returning home after a business trip away. He falls into the house and he's full of tales of the journey, the people he's met, the meals he's eaten, places visited, and he forgets how to ask how things have been at home. Hey, I've been there, I've done that, I made that same mistake. Quite simply, many of us are not very good at listening. And talking of listening, I wondered if you actually heard how many habits I said there was going to be. Well, I'm going to give you a bonus. I'm going to give you a 6th habit. I was saying it was 5 at the start, but as I've been writing this, habit number 6 has popped in my head. The final habit, although at the end of the hierarchy, is fundamental to the successful working through the very first 5. There is a story about coming across a woodcutter desperately trying to saw down a tree. If you suggest that the woodcutter take a break and sharpen the saw, he replies that he simply doesn't have the time. This is the same very short-term, upside-down thinking that we apply when we try to get home on an almost empty tank of petrol without filling up at the petrol station. Self-renewal is about looking after yourselves. To make the rest of the habits work, you need to be fit for the job. If you're not up for it, then you'll not be able to achieve your primary goals. Self-renewal comprises of 4 pots that you need constantly to top up. If these pots get too low, then you become unfit or irritable, or at least you'll not be operating at your best, which will make the whole process a lot more like hard work. And those pots that we're talking about are physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. A long period of time ignoring any of those pots will damage your overall well-being. Again, the word balance springs into mind in terms of understanding how we approach these issues. So, let's have a quick think about it. Number 1, know what it is what you're trying to do. Number 2, how will you know when you've got there? Number 3, set clear goals with clear timeframes. Number 4, is it time to adjust the balance between your private and your business life? Number 5, make sure that you're really being effective. For instance, is there anything you should be doing a lot less of, or is there anything you should be doing a lot more of? And last but not least, how could you achieve more of the things that you want? Guys, I'm almost giving you a pass. Take a step back, have a look at what's happening. Go through this podcast again. There's a lot of stuff in here. But number 6, habit number 6, has been absolutely key to my success this year. Is that I'm able to take that step back. I'm able to recognise when I'm running on low batteries. I'm able just to take that rest that I need so that I'm able to do all the other 5 habits. Guys, I would love to know what you're thinking. I would love to know your thoughts on the podcast. If you love the podcast, go and give us a review on iTunes. I'd really appreciate it. If you don't like the podcast, keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, you can go and find out what exactly is happening in my world. Go to the website, www.markford.uk, where you can find out what events are going on. You buy books, you can have a look at the blogs, some more of these podcasts, or come follow me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. I'm on the old Twitter as well. Just search Your Best Kept Business Secret and I should appear. Until next time, guys, go out, be brilliant, be the best version of yourselves that you can be, and that will probably ensure that your business is as well. Until next time, take care of yourself. Speak soon. Bye-bye.
This podcast is sponsored by JB Commercial Finance, the trusted funding solutions for business. JB Commercial Finance are experienced whole-of-market commercial finance brokers and will help you and your business raise money no matter your circumstances. Whether you're investing in your business, have cash flow challenges, or you're looking to acquire commercial premises, get in touch with us now for independent, expert, and honest advice. For a free, no-obligation assessment, find us at www.jbcommercialfinance.co.uk or call 0116-3440-322. JB Commercial Finance is fully authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority and are proud members of the National Association of Commercial Finance Brokers.